Alexander Isak's future at Newcastle United has become the defining storyline of the summer transfer window, a saga that has taken twists, public statements, and tense negotiations right up to the final days of the market. What began as quiet speculation about Liverpool's interest has now escalated into a full-blown standoff between a player determined to move and a club fighting to keep their prized asset, with manager Eddie Howe caught uncomfortably in the middle. The Swedish forward, once hailed as the face of Newcastle's ambitious new era, has made his stance unmistakably clear. He no longer wants to play for the Magpies and has his heart set on Anfield. But while Liverpool wait with anticipation, Newcastle's reluctance and their struggles in the transfer market have created an impasse that could yet leave the striker in limbo. Isak, who arrived in 2022 for a then-club record fee of £63 million from Real Sociedad, was brought in to spearhead Newcastle's attack as they look to establish themselves among England's elite. Eddie Howe described him at the time as a player with an X-factor, someone capable of scoring goals in all situations, a forward with pace, skill, and composure well beyond his years. His assessment was proven correct almost immediately, as Isak scored crucial goals, lifted Newcastle into the Champions League places, and etched his name into the club's modern history with decisive strikes, including the winner against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup final. For a fan base desperate for success after years of mediocrity, Isak looked every inch the talisman they had been waiting for. Yet football is rarely static, and the relationship that once looked so promising has soured in dramatic fashion. Over the summer, Liverpool tested Newcastle's resolve with a British record £110 million bid, only for the Magpies to reject it without hesitation. Instead of drawing a line under the matter, the refusal sparked fury from the players' camp. Isak has since withdrawn from first-team training, working in isolation at the club's facilities, and issued a public statement accusing the hierarchy of breaking promises made to him when he first signed. His words, stinging and direct, painted a picture of a player who feels betrayed by assurances that he would be allowed to leave if certain conditions were met. For Newcastle supporters, it was a gut punch, while for Liverpool, it was a clear signal of intent from the forward they covet most. Howe has tried to steady the storm, reminding reporters of Isak's professionalism and contributions since joining, but even he has admitted that the situation is reaching its conclusion. Ahead of Newcastle's clash with Liverpool at St. James's Park, the manager spoke with a mixture of regret and inevitability, suggesting that clarity would come soon and that the saga would end pretty quickly. His words underlined the awkwardness of the situation. A manager preparing his team for a marquee fixture while simultaneously bracing for the possible departure of his star striker to the very opponent they were set to face. The drama has been compounded by Newcastle's difficulties in securing replacements. The club identified Wolves striker Jorgen Strand Larsen as their top target, but negotiations have proven frustrating. Multiple bids, including one of £55 million, have been rejected, with Wolves standing firm in their desire to keep hold of the Norway international. Manager Vitor Pereira has insisted publicly that the forward will not be leaving, pointing to his character, his importance to the squad, and the fact that every player may have a price, but not every transfer window provides the opportunity to negotiate. Wolves' position has left Newcastle scrambling for alternatives, but with time ticking away before the September 1 deadline, their ability to sign not just one but two forwards, a condition reportedly necessary before sanctioning Isak's exit, looks increasingly unlikely. This stalemate has thrown the saga into sharp focus. On one side, Isak is unmoved, firm in his belief that his time at Newcastle is over and determined to join Liverpool. On the other, Newcastle remain adamant that they will not weaken their squad without securing reinforcements, particularly after a summer where their transfer dealings have already faced setbacks. The impasse is as much about timing as it is about money. Liverpool are ready with the funds and have already reached an agreement with the players' representatives, according to reports in Germany, but Newcastle's own circumstances are preventing a straightforward resolution. For Liverpool, the attraction of Isak is obvious. At 25 years old, he fits the profile of a forward entering his prime, capable of leading the line in a new era under Arne Slot. His ability to stretch defenses, score in big matches, and operate in a fluid front three aligns perfectly with the style Liverpool want to implement. Having already transformed their midfield over the past year, the Reds view Isak as the crown jewel of their attacking rebuild, someone who can complement Mohamed Salah in the short term and potentially succeed him as the focal point of the attack in the long run. The club's willingness to smash their transfer record demonstrates how highly they value him, and within Anfield there is growing belief that persistence will eventually pay off. But the saga has dragged on not just because of Newcastle's reluctance, but also because of the emotional weight attached to Isak's departure. For Howe, losing the Swede would be more than just a tactical blow. It would represent the unraveling of a project carefully built since 2022. He was the manager's statement signing, a symbol that Newcastle could attract elite-level players under their new ownership. To see him force an exit after just 2 seasons raises uncomfortable questions about promises made, expectations set, and the wider direction of the club. Newcastle's public statement insisting they do not foresee any scenario where Isak leaves was as much about optics as it was about strategy, a signal to fans that they remain ambitious, even as the ground beneath them shifts. Isak's stance, meanwhile, has drawn sympathy from some quarters and criticism from others. His decision to stop training with the team has been viewed by many Newcastle fans as a betrayal, while others argue that his frustrations are understandable given the allure of playing for the reigning Premier League champions. His international manager Jon Dahl Tomasson has weighed in cautiously, praising Isak's professionalism and mental strength, while admitting that the situation is far from ideal. The Swede remains part of the national team setup, though his lack of competitive action is a concern ahead of the World Cup qualifiers. The transfer window drama has also highlighted the domino effect that defines modern football negotiations. Liverpool's ability to finalize a deal depends not only on their own finances, but also on Newcastle's capacity to recruit replacements, which in turn depends on Wolves' willingness to part with Larsen or Brentford's openness to selling Yoane Wissa, another player the Magpies had explored earlier in the summer. Each rejection or deadlock sends ripples through the saga, delaying resolution and heightening tension. As the deadline approaches, the sense of inevitability grows that something has to give. Either Liverpool return with an improved bid that Newcastle cannot refuse, or the Magpies secure last-minute reinforcements that unlock the deal. Alternatively, the worst-case scenario for Isak could unfold, remaining at Newcastle against his wishes, sidelined from the team, his relationship with the club beyond repair. For a player of his caliber, the prospect of spending months in limbo is almost unthinkable, yet it remains a possibility if Newcastle dig in and Liverpool refuse to overpay. For Liverpool supporters, the thought of Isak lining up alongside Salah and Darwin Núñez is tantalizing. His signing would represent not just a statement of intent, but also a tangible upgrade, giving the Reds the firepower needed to defend their Premier League crown and challenge deep into the Champions League. The optimism around the club is palpable,